Our Bible text for today is taken from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3, and verses 17 through 21. Um, Meanwhile, before I begin, let me quickly summarize that this book of Ezekiel is primarily written as a prophecy and shown as revelation to Prophet Ezekiel. Now, there are a lot of things you can learn from the book of Ezekiel, but most importantly, what I want to point out today is about our proviso for salvation. That is, doing good is not enough to be saved in these last days. Not cheating your neighbor, not engaging in fornication, whatever it is you think is good, is still not good enough and not a visa to gain God's approval when His judgment comes upon this world. So, what are the things you need to do? What are the things I need to do? What are the things that we all need to do to gain salvation? Apart from the fact that we obey the scriptural laws, we don't cheat people, we don't do bad to anybody. This is one of those things I want to open our eyes to today. Book of Ezekiel, chapter 3, and verse 17. God told Ezekiel specifically that he made Ezekiel a watchman over the house of Israel. And the meaning of that is that if you look at the olden days, what they do is that there's usually a tower at the entrance building of the city. And that tower is usually tall. We call it high tower or strong tower. The essence of that strong tower is that there are watchmen who watch over that entrance to sound alarm in case there's any invasion coming in. That is the essence, that is the primary duty of those watchmen. And if it happens that there's any watchman who's on duty, maybe for instance 3 hours rotation, someone comes around for 3 hours, watches over that place, and that person comes to take over another 3 hours like that until 12 hours completion or 6 hours duration, whatever it is. But the fact and the truth remains that the watchman must not sleep. If he sleeps, an invasion happens, his blood guilt of the innocent people that will die in the city, that will be killed by those foreign armies. That's why watchmen are to be alert. Same thing is what Ezekiel was told by God, that God said He has made him a watchman over the house of Israel. And the essence of the Ezekiel's primary assignment is that if there's any impending danger, Ezekiel must inform the people before it happens, or else he will be blood guilt. So, what are the primary duties of Ezekiel, and what is it that God wants us to do today? That's what I'm talking about. I'm reading verse 18. Now it says, when I say unto the wicked that thou wilt surely die, and thou givest him not warning. That is, if I tell you to go and inform a wicked man that is going to die, and you did not inform him, you did not speak or warn him to turn away from his wicked ways. These are the conditions. One, the wicked man will still die because he's wicked. Yes. But God said He's going to ask for the blood of that wicked man from the person He told to go and tell him that failed to report. That's the meaning of verse 18, chapter 3 of Ezekiel. And that is applicable to us today, that we must ensure that the wicked ways that people are following today, we warn them. We do not want to shy away from doing that. We do not want to be not to neglect them. So far, they are not. Their way of life is not affecting us negatively. Well, we can stay together and all that. They may be thieves for all I care. That is not enough. That we want to warn the wicked people that they should change from their wicked ways. That is the first thing. Now, if it happens that God sends us to warn them and we fail to warn them, then we have blood guilt. Second condition is this in verse 19. Yet, if you warn the wicked and he did not turn from his wickedness, not from his wicked ways, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul. Now, this is what we want to do. That we go ahead and warn the wicked people, that we go ahead and warn this world that God's day of anger is coming. But then, if they fail to repent, for the fact that we've warned them, then our soul will be preserved alive when God's day of anger comes upon this world. And then, what happens in verse 20? It says, when a righteous man doth turn from his righteousness and commit iniquity, and I lay a stumbling block from him, he shall die because thou hast not given him warning. Yet he shall die in his sin, but his blood I will require at thine hand. Meaning that if there's a righteous man you're supposed to warn and you're not warning the person, and then it turns from righteousness to unrighteousness, you still have to warn him. The whole essence of this, therefore, is that it remains our priority today as Christians that we do not forget our primary assignment to warn wicked people to turn away from their ways, to ensure that we warn them to turn away now that there is time for them to do that. If we keep pursuing material things now, if we are so concerned about prosperity now that we are not concerned about salvation anymore, it will turn out to be that though we are righteous in our eyes, yet we will be blood guilt because we do not proclaim salvation unto people. And this is what we want to do as Christians, as believers, that we are not just going out there to pursue material things. We're not just going out there to pursue wealth. Wealth is good. Material prosperity is good. But most importantly is salvation. Because in the book of Isaiah, God told Isaiah those days that our gold and silver will not be able to save them on the day of God's anger. And that's what's going to happen when God's anger comes upon this world. That gold and silver that people are accumulating today will amount to nothing when God's day of anger comes. Therefore, lastly, I'll read the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, and verses 2 and 3. Habakkuk, chapter 2, verses 2 and 3. Sorry, Zephaniah, I meant to say Zephaniah, chapter 2, and verse 2 and 3. Say, before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff, before the fiery anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you, seek ye the Lord, all you meek ones of the earth, which have wrought his judgment, seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. The Lord's anger is coming upon this world. I'm very sure of that. But before that day comes, the Bible urges us to seek God, seek meekness, seek righteousness. Everything here is not just about, you remember that the proviso for being saved is not about material prosperity. It's about seeking God, seeking righteousness, seek meekness. And I pray that as we obey this law, God will help us. But don't forget, most importantly, people may look at you as being odd. They may look at you as being different because you are not following the usual way of life. You are warning them. Just as the day of Noah was that people were eating and drinking, that they did not take cognizance of the fact that there was flood was about to happen. Same thing is happening today, that people are following their usual way of life, but a lot of differences are taking place in the stream of time. Same thing is happening today. The day of the Lord's anger is about to come. Being righteous is not enough. You still have to go out there, people that anger is about to be poured upon the earth, and to spare nobody who is unrighteous.